breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer brother, hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Curtis Rogers, who does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to be chatting with them about what we've all been getting here in the American League. We're going to talk with them about this wild playoff picture that we've got right now, and then we'll take a look at the outlook of the Seattle Mariners because he does the pre- and post-game hosting for them and does such an amazing job with it. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, naming does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Do beg with you, do plead with you. Please do send in those Twitter/X questions, but did not get in any today. We had a fun day of baseball on Friday, though. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Toronto Blue Jays get the job done against the Philadelphia Phillies. This by a count of 5-4. This was the debut of Jose Soriano with the Toronto Blue Jays. Not necessarily as he planned, only 4 2/3 innings. Wasn't lit up or anything like that. 2 runs, one of which was earned, given up in that span. You did have Tyler Rogers give up 2 runs, one of which was earned in his inning of work, but Mason Flaherty out of the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Little comes up big for a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Newly acquired Matt Waldron, a scoreless inning, and Lazar Estrada. He was able to come in for 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Zach Wheelan and Dylan Wheeler not wheeling and not dealing. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 1/3 innings, and he was taken deep in this one by Andres Gimenez, 8th home run of the season. Then you had a home run number 2 of the campaign for one Mr. Josh Smith. That was able to come off of Caleb Killian later on in the game, who gives up that home run in his inning of work. Chase Yogurt, scoreless inning, and then you did have Taven Mesa give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. The Cleveland Guardians turned on their offense 8-2. They're able to take down the Chicago White Sox. For the Southsiders, Noah Schultz gives up 2 runs, and he only lasts a third of an inning as he was taken out due to injury. Not great there. Davis Sandlin from there, he has to come in super long relief. 6 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, and he gives up a pair of home runs. Going deep, Stephen Kwan, 2nd home run season. Anel Martinez, he was able to get his 12th, and he also had Trevor Richards come in for 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Eric Fetty does not get whopped. He was able to give you a scoreless inning, but too little, too late, because Parker Messick, he had himself a solid start here. Does give up a pair of solo home runs. Montaka Murakami, his 25th home run of the campaign, and then you had home run number 4 of the season for the other Montgomery, Braden Montgomery, but gives up 2 runs in 7 innings, and then Franco Ailman, he was able to give you 2 shutout innings of his own. The Yankees in extra innings find a way to persevere against the Atlanta Braves, this by a count of 3-2. For the Braves, Tyler Mahle in his debut with the team, very good. 9 punch-outs and 6 shutout innings. DDA Fuentes, Dylan Lee, they both give you a scoreless inning, and then Raciel Iglesias with the team up 2 in the 9th inning, gives up a pair after he had been so good to begin the season. Dylan Dodd from there and out of the bullpen scoreless. Tyler Kinley gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning as a Ryan McMahon sacrifice fly ends the game. And Mad Max Fried, how about a great start out of him? 6 1/3 innings. From there, Francisco Cruz gives up a home run in his inning of work as he was taken deep by Austin Riley, 14th home run of the season. And then Matt Olson, he was able to get his 33rd home run in the campaign. That one comes off of Tim Hill. Fraley gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Brent Hedrick, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Yuri De Los Santos, he gets an out scoreless. David Bennar, he does not poop the Bennar. He was able to give you a scoreless 10th inning to be able to get that one in. The LA Angels, they get this one in 4-3. They're able to take down the Miami Marlins. George Clausen, he walks 4, but he only gives up 1 run in 4 innings. For the Miami Marlins, they leave 13 men on base in this one. Taylor Cicado, 1 run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Sean Anderson out of the bullpen scoreless, and then you had Ben Joyce give you a scoreless inning. Jose Fermin gives up a run in an inning, but Blake Weeman, he was able to come in for a scoreless inning. Tyler Phillips, not long for this game, gives up 1 run in 4 innings, and he was taken deep. It was home run number 19 of the campaign for Mike Trout, and then Nolan Schunel, he would later on get his 7th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Josh Eknes. For Eknes, he gives up 3 unearned runs in 1 2/3 innings of work. He was hurt by his own fielding here, though, so those were still on him. Michael Peterson, great name. Far outside the bullpen scoreless. Calvin Fauché, John King, they were the king of both being able to give you a scoreless inning, but too little, too late out there. How about the Minnesota Twins? 8-6, they take down the Milwaukee Brewers. Zebby Matthews, not a great start. 6 runs, 3 of which were earned in his 5 innings of work as Jackson Chourio was able to get his 16th home run in the campaign. Bullpen from there there is able to do their part, though, as Yandres Gomez, Andrew Morris, Jeff Hoffman all lend a scoreless inning, Tommy Nance, AJ Minter, they combine for a scoreless inning, and Shane Drone. 6 runs allowed in 5 innings, including a home run to Josh Bell, his 15th home run of the season, and no, not Dante Culpepper, but rather Kalian Culpepper. He gets his first career home run. From there, you had Antonio Senzatella give up 2 runs in an inning of work, Bryce Wilson in long relief, 3 shutout innings, but too little too late out there. The Boston Red Sox, how insane is this run? I believe they are now 27-3 in their last 30 games, and the Athletics were at 1.38-38. They have now went 7-33 in their last 41 games. 13-1. The Red Sox absolutely bound them. For Peyton Dooley, well, the A's were paying the Dooley. Tyler Soderstrom was able to get his 11th home run in the campaign, but that's all that they would get off of him in 6 innings as he punched out 14 along the way. You did have from there 3 shutout innings from the long reliever and Raymond Burgos, and for the Athletics, this was not what Jack Perkins was hoping for. He gives up 5 runs over the course of 3 innings. He does give up a home run along the way as going deep. Jaron Duran, his 16th home run of the campaign. From there, it did not really get any better for the team, as Luis Medina was able to give you a scoreless inning, but Hayden Junger, he gives up 4 runs in his inning of work. Jose Suarez and out of the bullpen scoreless. Scott Blewett, well, he did blow it in this one. He gives up 4 runs, 2 of which were in 1 2/3 innings. Carlos Cortez, scoreless inning, and for the Red Sox, they just continue to get the job done. Being able to get the job done, the Chicago Cubs, 6-4, they take down the Kansas City Royals. Daniel Lynch, not the start he was looking for. Has been tremendous out of the bullpen, but 4 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Bulk guy Mason Black gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings as he was taken deep by Pedro Ramirez, 2nd home run of the campaign. Did have Jose Quas give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Lucas Ursich, a scoreless inning. And Kevin Gausman, solid start here after he was bad in the back half of his tenure with the Blue Jays. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Was taken deep by Carter Jensen, 16th home run of the campaign. Caleb Theobar, 2 runs allowed in a 3rd of an inning. Trent Thornton, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jacob Webb, he had his spidey sense on. He was able to get a scoreless inning of his own. Being able to get lots of scoreless innings. How about what we saw out of the Tampa Bay Rays? 2-1. They're able to take down the Seattle Mariners, as for the Mariners, Logan Gilbert, solid start here. 2 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Pair of solo home runs. Jonathan Aranda, 15th home run season. Johnny LaLuca, his 8th. Edward Bazardo, out of the bullpen scoreless. Jose Ferrer, Sir Anthony Dominguez, they both turn a scoreless inning. And then Drew Rasmussen, he gives up nothing in his 7 shutout innings. Garrett Clevenger and Kevin Kelly from there combined for a scoreless inning. Brian Baker, he does give up a solo home run in his inning of work, as you had Julio Rodriguez get his 18th home run season, but too little too late out there. For the Giants, they get a 5-2 win over the Detroit Tigers, as Kadir Montero, more like Montero, 5 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, who was taken deep twice, as it was Willie Adames getting his 19th home run of the campaign, and then you had Rafael Devers get his 24th. From there, Drew Summers and Emmanuel De Jesus both on a scoreless inning. J.G. Brubaker, the opener, he gives up a run in an inning, and Adrian Hauser did not pitch like Doogie. 1 run allowed in 5 innings. Keaton wins, Sam Antages, they combined for 2 shutout innings. Dylan Smith, he was able to turn a scoreless inning of his own. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, 4-3, they get the job done against the LA Dodgers. Roki Sasaki, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, as he was taken deep by Nolan Arenado, 17th home run season. Ryan Waldschmidt, 2nd home run in the campaign. That one comes off of Edwin Diaz, who blows this game. The Dodgers were up 3-2 in the 9th, gives up 2 runs in his 3rd of an inning. Edgar Enriquez, Tanner Scott, Great Scott, they both give you a scoreless inning. And Merrill Kelly, 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Juan Amarillo, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Taylor Clark gives up a run in 3rd of an inning. Braden Garcia, 1 2/3 innings. He allows a home run to Andy Paz, 19th home run season, but Kevin Ginkel, scoreless inning to be able to get that one in. The Houston Astros, they get this one in 6-3. They take down the Slam Diego Padres, as for the Pods, Fernando Tatis Jr. goes deep again, 10th home run season. That comes off of Ronald Blanco, who gives up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Better than Robbie Ray, who was more like Robbie Boo. 4 runs allowed in 5 innings. Walked 5, gave up a home run in this one to Cam Smith, 14th home run season, and then Smith, his 15th home run season, would come off of Yuki Matsui, who gives up that 1 run in 2 innings. Wani Peralta, 2 innings of work, he also gives up a run, and for the Astros bullpen, lights out here. Stephen O'Curdy, scoreless inning along Josh Hader, Brian Abreu, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, Bennett Sosa, AJ Bluba, they combine for a trio of outs scoreless to get that one in. The Walker Texas Rangers, 2-1, they get this one in against the Orioles. Nate Thinavaldi gives up 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. Tyler Alexander, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Robbie Elstrom, scoreless inning. Jacob Latz, 2 shutout innings, and for the Wizard of Oz, he actually gets a complete game loss. You don't see a lot of those. Jock Peterson took him deep for his 21st home run of the season, but 2 runs allowed over the course of 8 innings. Just not a lot doing for the Orioles at the plate. Not a lot doing for the Cardinals at the plate either. They are last in the National League in terms of scoring at home, but they do get a 3-2 win over the Colorado Rockies. Ryan Feltner gives up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings with a home run to Ivan Herrera, 13th home run season. Jimmy Herget, a scoreless inning. Brendan Bernardino, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And Nick Frazo was able to give you a scoreless inning for Kyle Leahy. 2 runs allowed in 5 innings, and the bullpen goes to work. Justin Brewer, Riley O'Brien combined for 2 shutout innings. They both went a scoreless inning apiece. Caleb Ferguson, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Ryan Stanek, a pair of outs out of the bullpen himself. And then you saw the Washington Nationals get a 5-3 win over the Cincinnati Reds. Wholesale approach here for the Reds as Chase Petty, he's feeling petty about the fact that he gave up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 1 2/3 innings, and he was taken deep in this one by Dallin Lyle, 15th home run of the season. Then a little bit later on, it was Bill Ford tough as Harry Ford, he was able to get his 2nd home run on the campaign. That comes out for Julian Garcia, who gives up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings. Lewis May, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. Zach McKempley, 4 outside the bullpen, scoreless, but Cade Cavalli, he was able to do his part. He gives up 3 home runs, but they were all solo shots. And Eugenio Suarez, 15th home run season. Matt McClain is 10th. Ellie De La Cruz, 20th, gives up 3 runs in 6 innings. And then from there, Yoni Cruz, Orlando Robalta, Clayton Beater, they were all able to end scoreless innings. And then you were able to have the New York Mets get a rare 6-4 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Carmen Molzinski, 5 runs allowed in 3 innings. Marcus Semien, 14th home run season. Evan Sisk, 1 run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez. Good and long relief. He was not messed with. 3 1/3 innings scoreless. Luke Weaver, scoreless inning, but Zach Thornton, great start here. 5 shutout innings. The bullpen tried to make a mess out of things. Stephen Williams gives up 2 runs in an inning to Neil Nunez. 2 runs allowed in an inning, but Jeffrey Yan and Dan Duarte, they were able both on a scoreless inning of their own. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has now become an underwhelming season. I know that there's a lot of conspiracies out there with perhaps a changing of the baseball, what have you, but the underrated Major League Baseball right now is a little bit over 50.9%, 867 unders, 835 overs, and we've had, if Matt serves me correct, right around about like 33, 34 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the favorites on the money line, 956 and 739, that's 56.4%, but 236 of those favorites have failed to cover the run line. Last 7 days of Major League Baseball, favorites are hitting at 61.3%, 57 and 36, but you've seen 14 of those favorites not cover the run line. The under rate is sitting at about 52.75%, 48 unders, 43 overs, and 3 pushes. And last 30 days of Major League Baseball, under rate 56.8%, 200 unders, and 152 overs with, if Matt serves me correct once again, I think that we've had like 13 or 14 pushes. Favorites on the money line hitting at 57%, 200 and 151, with 56 of those favorites failing to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all seeing trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Curtis Rogers? Does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports, and he joins me on the flip side right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Craig Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Right here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's hard at work taking a look at what we're going to be getting out of the Seattle Mariners in the second half of the season. Additionally, all 12 months out of the year, he takes a look at college basketball, which all of a sudden has gotten very interesting, to say the least, with a lot of players becoming eligible. So he does a great job on that front and so much more. And the Seahawks, they're getting started up as well. He does a great job on that front. You're able to follow him on Twitter/X and Instagram at A Kid From Kent altogether. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, happy to hop on with you. Always enjoy the intro. It gets longer and longer. I love it. It just means we're both very busy. A man of many hats, I would say, like a lid store. Appreciate it. And yeah, this Mariners season, this baseball season, as it were, just a roller coaster everywhere you look. Teams get hot and out of nowhere, like the Red Sox. You've got the Mariners that have cooled off a lot here in the season second half. Everything in the American League makes no sense, but we're going to try to make sense of it.
Yep, it certainly has been wild. And what did you make out of the Mariners and what they're going to be just having moving forward? Because at the trade deadline, they sold away a few pieces with Luis Castillo on the move, but you covering the team know that Luis Castillo is not what he once was. And for the Mariners, they tried to revamp that bullpen a little bit as well. Not sure what Sir Anthony Dominguez is going to be able to give the team moving forward, but felt like they were just sort of staying sort of in place with regards to trade deadline, for lack of a better term. And I think that's going to be interesting because in the ALS, you didn't necessarily have massive buyers. You didn't have necessarily massive sellers, aside from the Angels, who are completely out of it.
Yeah, my co-host, Michael Bumpus, he said something to the effect of the Mariners had a responsible trade deadline. And I thought that was a really good way of describing it because they didn't go out and shell out for anybody that was kind of top of the market, but also they didn't sell either. They did pick up Taylor Ward, who is an on-base machine right now at a near 400 on-base percentage. The power has gone by the wayside, though, with him. Only 7 home runs this season. I don't know if that's a product of playing the majority of his games trying to hit it out of left field at Camden Yards this season, but he is a much different player than he was last year or even the year prior to that when he was playing for the Angels. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez, look, you look at the salaries that got swapped in the Castillo trade. The Mariners were able to get out of all the money that was owed to Castillo, the remainder of his contract this year, and all of what's left next year, and the potential vesting option for 2028. You bring back Dominguez, who is signed for this year and also next year at a significantly smaller number than Castillo. I believe he's making only about $10 million this year, next year. So it's a much more affordable option. But unfortunately, the early returns for Dominguez have not been so great. But you look at the rest of the American League, you mentioned it, no one else really did much. The Astros acquired Dalton Varsho. That was about the biggest acquisition outside of what the Mariners did with Taylor Ward. Everything is there for the taking in the American League West. The Mariners could absolutely jump out in front if they're able to kind of get out of their own way. Mariners GM Justin Hollander this week said the only team that we know for sure can beat us in the American League West is ourselves. And I thought that was a really interesting statement, especially because of how bad the Mariners have played in just compared to the expectations that were lofted on them prior to the season. I think a lot of people look at them as potential, American League champions if everything went their way like it did a year ago. But unfortunately, that just hasn't been the case. Now, you can't write them off completely yet, but they are running out of time. You've got about 7 weeks left in the regular season to make a move here, or at least a move up the standings. You got to get going. You can't leave series like the Tigers series where they dropped 2 of 3 and got blown out in 2 of the 3 games. You can't have those kinds of series the rest of the way, especially looking at the remainder of their August. It does not get easy.
No, it certainly does not. And that AL West, I think, might be the most, shall we say, mid-division in all baseball right now. Because you mentioned with the Rangers, they picked up a few bullpen pieces like Chase Silseth. With the Athletics, man, they were 38-38 at one point. And I think that they're now like 7-27 or something like that in their last 34 games. Like, it has just went straight down the toilet bowl for them. So makes things very interesting moving forward. And for the Seattle Mariners, I do think that they have a very critical series coming up against the Tampa Bay Rays. A Rays team that currently has the top record out there in the American League, but they enter into this series sub 500 away from home. We are doing this before we know what happens with Drew Rasmussen and Logan Gilbert on Friday, but how are you taking a look at this series moving forward? Because I think that as much as it's a daunting task to take down the top team in the American League right now, the Seattle Mariners absolutely need to cash in at home because the Mariners are another one of those teams that has really struggled away from them this season too.
Yeah, exactly. And these opportunities are fleeting, and you've got to win in a ballpark that suits your strengths, and that's absolutely what T-Mobile Park does to this Mariners ball club, at least in terms of pitching, for sure, especially guys like Brian Wu and guys like Bryce Miller. They have had a lot of success this year at home. Obviously, Bryce Miller in the finale against the Tigers, that did not go well for him, but you look at just what this Mariners team can do at home. They've historically been a much better team at home than away from their own ballpark. And you mentioned the Rays with having the best record in the American League. That is very true, but you look at their record away from home, they're below 500. So I think this Rays ball club, even though they do have the best record, I don't know if anybody would be willing to bet both hands on them winning the American League this year. I think you look at the rest of the AL East, the Yankees, if they get Aaron Judge back, I think that catapults them into the catbird seat as favorites in the AL. But how about the Red Sox too? I mean, they've lost 3 games in about a month. Like, that's ridiculous. I think right now in the American League, the Rays are the current title belt holder, but I would imagine there are a couple of teams right now that are lurking, specifically in their own division, that could really muddy things up as we get closer and closer to the end of the season.
Yep, it is going to be so interesting to see what we get towards the end of the season because, my goodness, we've got a lot that is going on right now with all these teams out there in the American League. And you mentioned it, even though the Rays have the top record out there in the American League, it just feels rhymeless and reasonless what we're getting right now. And how much do we take a look at the Yankees right now, a team that they actually had a winning month of July, even though I did the math and their last 35 games are averaging 3.4 runs per game. They picked up Luis Garcia, which is solid, but how do you take a look at this team? Because the pitching for them has actually been remarkable. Man, the Bronx Bombers are not bombing right now, though, and they need Aaron Judge back like they need their next breath of air.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Aaron Judge does so much for them, and bringing him back into this lineup would give them a lift that they've so desperately needed. But you mentioned their pitching staff and how good they have been this year. Heck, the addition of Garrett Cole midway through the season has been big for them, but also Cam Schlittler is still very much in the Cy Young conversation in the American League. Heck, even Ryan Weathers has done some pretty good things. So I look at this Yankees pitching staff, Greg, and at full health, I think they are the best pitching staff, at least the best starting rotation in the American League. Cole, Fried, Schlittler, like that's a really, really good rotation. Carlos Rodon as well, if they're able to get a full, finish of the season out of him. So I look at this Yankees pitching staff, and yeah, I think that's kind of how they're going to win ball games this year. And I think even with Aaron Judge back in the fold, if they do get him back in the fold, I should say, yeah, I think that's going to be the route that they have to go is with their arms, because right now you look at their lineup. I mean, Ben Rice is the only guy really, with some good power. And it's interesting in that stadium, they don't have more guys with higher home run totals this year. I know Cody Bellinger has played really good defense for them, but the power numbers for him have not been there so much this season. Jazz Chisholm defensively and just offensively as well. Numbers are way down in terms of OPS. So I would imagine Judge's presence in that lineup would lift everybody else to have a much better season. But gosh, yeah, the trade for Luis Garcia, that was a huge one for the Yankees. Already hit a home run this week for them. Got to see Garcia play earlier this season when the Mariners took on the Nationals. He's a really good bat, and I think that was a really shrewd move made by them. Especially you can kind of platoon him with Paul Goldschmidt against righties, Goldschmidt against lefties, Garcia against righties. It's a pretty good platoon they got going on there. And I think this Yankee staff, like you mentioned, Greg, that's going to be what's going to have to carry them so long as Aaron Judge remains out. He did get a better bill of health, I think, this week. It sounds like he's resumed baseball activities, which is a huge sigh of relief for Yankees fans out there. But it remains to be seen what kind of Aaron Judge they're going to get, if they get him at all, the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's going to be so fascinating with that because the initial reports were that he might not be out for too long, but it's been lingering, and for the Yankees, it's gotten worse and worse and worse for their offense. As we do have Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, join me on the Baseball Betting Show. And in the wake of the trade deadline, as this is our first time chatting with you, obviously the Dodgers were the big winner. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise there. But outside of the Dodgers, who did you look at and you felt like they had a really good deadline and have set themselves up for success, whether that be American League or National League?
I thought that the Padres actually had a pretty good trade deadline, especially considering the needs that they have in starting pitching, getting Casey Mize and getting Robbie Ray. Obviously, neither of those two guys are Tarek Skubal, and you're in the same division as Tarek Skubal now. You're going to have to really kind of stand your ground and hope that the Dodgers kind of slip up. But you look at the Padres, and they're not that far out of a wild card spot. They needed as much help as they could get. I think they did themselves a really nice favor in getting those two guys to sort of anchor down the back end of their rotation, something that they desperately needed, especially this season as it has gone. You kind of wonder where the Padres would be if they had some competent starting pitching to go along with the back end of that bullpen, which is pretty amazing with Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon. I think that Padres team, what they were able to do, adding those two starting pitchers, could really help themselves out a lot here as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. You look at the wild card standings in the National League as it currently sits. The Padres is 2 back of the Phillies for that third and final wild card spot. You've got the D-backs in there as well, Cubs leading the National League wild card. There were a couple of teams, I thought the Pirates addition of Luke Weaver was an interesting one, especially because the Pirates are 5 back, and I felt like Weaver was going to be a guy more in demand by teams that were very much like in the playoff hunt or teams that have locked down playoff spots. But I thought that was a really interesting move made by them. So I look at that National League wildcard race, and yeah, the Padres absolutely needed to make some moves, especially because they always enter the season with a lot of expectations. They always hit the go for it button, and it just hasn't worked this year in the way that I think they thought. But getting those two guys to get into that rotation, I thought was a really nice move made by them, addressing their biggest need.
Yep, I agree with you. And then the befuddling move of the Blue Jays, who they trade away Kevin Gausman and they did pick up Jose Soriano, and they're very much out of it in the American League. I'm not sure what to make out of that. And there's always a few of those moves as well. And just when it comes to the landscape of baseball, obviously the Dodgers, even though they're on a losing streak, I think that they are certainly the favorites to be able to win the World Series. But who do you think now is their biggest competition with everything that we've seen? Because at first I was thinking it might be the Brewers, but I was underwhelmed by their trade deadline for the Phillies. I like the fact that they pick up Luis Arias, but at the same time, too, I think that they're a little bit built on sand, and I think that that race for who's number 2 in all baseball now is very much muddied with the Braves perhaps being that team as well.
Yeah, I thought the Braves would have been a little more aggressive in their trade deadline pursuits. They didn't necessarily go out and break the bank. They did kind of fortify everything else that they needed, but it wasn't necessarily moves that were going to, be jaw droppers that people were like, oh my gosh, like this Braves team is really going for it. They did add Brent Suter. I thought that was a nice pickup for their bullpen. I think they're going to kind of bank on guys coming back from injury. I know Ronald Acuna Jr., he's come back in the last couple of weeks. That's somebody that they're definitely going to need, especially as they, get closer and closer here to clinching a playoff spot, to clinching the National League East. I think the Braves, Greg, though, just kind of core-wise, I know last year they missed the playoffs in kind of stunning fashion because they've been one of the best-run organizations for quite some time now in the National League, especially with this group of players. But I look at them pound for pound. I don't know if there's another team in the National League that can kind of throw haymakers with the Dodgers the way that the Braves can. You mentioned the Brewers. I don't know if they have the offensive punch needed in order to kind of hang around with the Dodgers who can put up runs on anybody. Now, the Brewers do have the best pitcher in the National League right now, Jacob Misiorowski. That's going to be huge for them. I kind of wonder what his workload is going to look like in the postseason. I know last year they were so kind of, they treated him with oven mitts, but this year it seems like they've kind of been letting him fly with him. So I wonder just how much that right arm of his is going to be able to carry the Brewers. Obviously, he is the front runner for the National League Cy Young, kind of running away with it at this point. It helps to have an ace of ace like that in your rotation for sure, because those guys can tilt series in a way that really nobody else can, because you're probably going to throw him in a 5-game series. I would imagine he gets the ball in game 1 for sure, especially if you're the Brewers. You're 5.5 up in the National League Central. You're probably going to get a top 2 seed, which means you're probably going to get those 5 days off in between the end of the regular season and the start of the postseason. You can reset your rotation. I would imagine Misiorowski probably gets a couple of starts, or at least scheduled to get a couple of starts in a National League Division Series scenario. Now, obviously, you got to get there, and there's still a lot of season left to be played. But I think the Brewers, the pitching can definitely match up. They just need to get some more offensive punch, I think, if they want to hang with the Dodgers over the course of a 5-game series or a 7-game playoff series.
Yep, no question about it. The Brewers were able to get to the NLCS last year, and then they won as many games as the two of us in the NLCS. That was not great, to say the least. So hopefully they can at the very least win 1 game in the NLCS. And a man that always helps us win whenever he's on this show, that'd be you, Curtis. You're doing such an amazing job over at 710 Seattle Sports. Football, basketball, hockey, we name it, you do it all. So all the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we're not managing workloads over here.
Oh.
We've got a lot going on here in the city of Seattle. Some great conversations we had this week on the station. Alex Rodriguez joined our morning show to talk about his return, his, I guess, triumphant return, you could call it that. A mixed bag of returns to the city of Seattle for the first time in 25 years. The Mariners have their 50th anniversary celebration going on this weekend, and Alex Rodriguez is part of it. His first team-related activity since leaving back prior to the 2001 season. So really interesting conversation with that. Also, some really cool stuff from Jeff Passan. John Morosi joined the station as well. A lot of good stuff. Seattle Sports on YouTube and also seattlesports.com. That's where you want to go to catch those conversations. And Greg, always happy to hop on with you. Talk some baseball this time of year. It's still hot out, but I can tell that fall is nearing because this baseball action's heating up. Looking forward to talking about it with you the next time we link up.
You can feel it a little bit more than myself that fall is coming, because right now in lovely Las Vegas, we're in a streak of like 110 plus degrees for 10 straight days. So, man, it's been a little bit warm out here, to say the least. It's very much summer out here, but that said, it just feels a little bit more, shall we say, cool. It feels a little bit more inviting when we've got our good friend Curtis aboard. A big thanks, Curtis, for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them
all. Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Curtis Rogers. He does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports, the pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So, big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. Let's get her started with 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Metropolitans are going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bubba Chandler goes for the Buccos. Robert Stock hopes to stock a win for the Mets, and the Mets between plus 115 to plus 120 underdogs, between minus 135 to minus 142 is that number on the Pirates, and so on this game is 8.5. The over is minus 120, and the under is even, and I did set the Pirates here at a minus 158. I'm going to be willing to trust in them on the money line for Robert Stock. Still do have some question marks, even though in his first start he did look relatively solid. And for Bubba Chandler, he certainly has had his walks issues for the Pirates, but it does look like things are starting to round into form with him. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 7 out of his last 9 starts. I believe that he's now at 3 or fewer in 8 out of his last 10. For Chandler, so 4.49 ERA with 5 walks per 9 innings, but is only giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. It's a Mets team that's in the bottom 3 in the National League in terms of just road scoring. And for Robert Stock, a 36-year-old that has had a long and winding road, that first start that he had gave up 1 run over the course of 5 innings, but you do have to wonder if things are going to catch up to him a little bit, because whenever he's gotten cups of coffee at the big league level, a career 4.71 ERA, getting 5 walks per 9 innings, actually tore it up at the minor league level this year. 2.91 ERA, he was getting 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know if that's going to be a mainstay, and it was a relatively small sample size for Stock. And now for the New York Mets, a bullpen that was relatively solid with Oscar Brisbane, Luke Weaver, AJ Minter. Those guys all get traded away, and for the Mets, they've actually been scoring more runs without Juan Soto than with Juan Soto, but I do think that that's going to be normalizing a little bit. You've been able to get quite a bit out of the likes of a Carson Bench, who's now been able to give you about 13 home runs. He's hitting about a 265-ish, and he's been able to swipe some bags. AJ Ewan moves the line, give you about a 330 on base, but even though Marcus Semien is now giving you 13 home runs, just a 275 on base. Bo Bichette just a 300 on base with 11 home runs. Mark Vientos, when he's out there, as he's been dealing with injury, about a 260 on base. A lot of guys are just on moving line, and the Pirates, they're averaging about 5.4 runs per game. That is number 1 in all of baseball in terms of scoring at home. Brandon Lau has been your main boom guy with 24 home runs, and even without Oneil Cruz, they've still been able to maintain. Esmeralda Valdez is giving you a home run every about 11 at-bats. He's been able to fly about a 365 on base. Now, Ryan O'Hearn has been banged up. That does hurt this team, but so Brian Reynolds give you a 375 on base. Spencer Horwitz a 375 on base. Jake Magnum, he's hitting darn near 300, and he's been able to swipe 20 bags. And for the Pirates, still a work in progress with the bullpen. They pick up Camellia Duvall, which I thought that was interesting, along with Lake Bakar, Kirby Yates. So they did add some pieces to that bullpen. They still have had a lot of, shall we say, suspect play with Dennis Santana posting up the 60 ERA. Mason Montgomery has not necessarily been amazing. Gregory Soto has some question marks. I do think that you're in an interesting spot, but I do think that Chandler keeps you under, and I do think that Stock actually gives you an okay start. I like the under, so I told it at 8.3, and for the Pirates, willing to lay up to a minus 157 on the money line. 953, 954 on the card. It is the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road facing off against the Washington Nationals. Andrew Alvarez goes for the Nats, and Chase Burns is on the bump for the Reds. And right now, the total is 8.5. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. And for the Redlegs, between minus 135 to minus 148 is that number on them. Plus 118 to plus 126, that number on Washington. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Nationals. I did set this at a plus 117. Now, Chase Burns has been incredible with the way that he's been able to get about 10.3, 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, a sub-250 ERA. But that said, he does give out 3.3 walks per 9 innings. The fielding independent of a 332 does point towards a little bit of regression. And for Andrew Alvarez, the numbers point in a completely different direction, because for Alvarez, he's done an amazing job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. Right now, giving up only about 0.3 home runs per 9 innings. They do sometimes utilize an opener from him, so keep that in mind. He does give out the 4.4 walks per 9 innings, but he has been able to get about 9 punch-outs per 9 innings, and this has been a Reds team that just hasn't knocked your socks off with their offense all season long, and Eugenio Suarez not providing a lot of power, hitting just above the Mendoza line of 200. Team overall is 22nd in the league in terms of run creation, and for the Washington Nationals, they're actually number 1 in terms of run creation, but I'll explain why that's going to be going downward a little bit later on. But I said, with this Reds team, just the guys at the bottom, like Brian Hayes, Navolia Marte, Matt McClain, all hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. That's been rough. They were dealing with the injury to Spencer Steer, though. Ellie De La Cruz, JJ Bleday, 19 and 20 home runs apiece. Cousin Sal Stewart, he's up to 25 bombs, but you also trade away Nathaniel Lowe. Flip side, for Washington, you're without James Wood, who's been giving you 30 home runs, well above a 375 on base. Dallin Lyle has been able to be solid, 14 bombs. He's able to move line, and then love Nasim Nunez giving you 40 stolen bases. CJ Abrams, he's a heart and soul of this team, 28 home runs, over a 360 on base, but you're going to need more of likes of Andres Shapiro, Dylan Cruz. These have been guys that really haven't been able to just find it at the big league level. Both of these bullpens are rough. Both are in the bottom 8 in terms of ERA. Carson Palmquist has been posting up an ERA well above a 5. I don't have a lot of faith in Giovanni Cruz. Hasn't been bad in a small sample size, but getting back Brad Lord off the injury list, I think, is massive for the Nationals. That's going to be able to lend a little bit of length. And for the Cincinnati Reds, it's just a befuddling bullpen. Still without Tony Santillan, Brock and Rolberg, TJ Antone, they've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Pierce Johnson's ERA is heading towards a 5. Sam Moles posting up a 4 ERA. Emilio Pagan continues to be Emilio Pagan, so we'll take this plus number with the Nationals, set it at a plus 117, and do like the under. Somebody told at an 8.3. 955, 956 on the card. It is the Rockies on the road against the Cardinals, as Matthew Liberatore goes for the Cardinals. Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. The Rockies are an underdog of plus 128 to a plus 143. Meanwhile, minus 150 to minus 165. That number on St. Louis, 9 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I was willing to take anything of plus 112 or better on the Cardinals run line. I'm right now find that at a plus 135. For me, there's just absolutely no trusting in Kyle Freeland. He had a nice start last time out. I believe it was a complete game, but still, right now he's been supplying this team with, overall for the season, a 681 ERA, 829 when he is away from them, 2.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings when he is on the road, backed up by a bullpen that is dead sinking last in terms of ERA. It's been a rough year for these guys like Juan Mejia, Jane Nill. Jordan Romano has been a little bit better since getting to Colorado, but I still don't have a lot of faith in him. Now for the Cardinals' top 8 team, in terms of run creation, Jake McCarthy is doing a great job moving the line. He, Cole Carrick, TJ Romfield, all these guys hitting above 290 is nice. You've been able to have Troy Johnson be able to step up as well. Hunter Goodman, he is a good man. He's able to give you 33 home runs. And for the Cardinals, entering in the series actually last in the National League in terms of run creation at home, but now they're getting back Jordan Walker after he dealt with a little bit of ailment towards the beginning part of the week. 22 home runs, well above a 280 batting average. And then J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson. These guys are giving you a 340 plus on base. Burleson's now up to 18 home runs. Weatherholt with 16. Bottom of the fold, you're going to need a little bit more of some of these guys like a Nathan Church, Pedro Paz and company. And for the Cardinals, it is also a bullpen that has been leaving quite a bit of something to be desired. Caleb Ferguson is, in my opinion, a pretty shrewd move and a nice pickup. He's been able to give you a sub 380 ERA. Goran Gaseffo, George Soriano, Riley O'Brien, they've been neither here nor there. We've been seeing a little bit of regression out of them, but for Gaseffo, he's been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for Matthew Liberatore, he's coming off of a relatively nice start last time out. Overall for the season, 497 ERA. has been just giving up too much of the deep ball. 1.6 and 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and the walks are up to about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but is perhaps turning a corner. 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so going to be in on the over here, semi-total at 9.2, and for the Cardinals, we'll take that plus money run line. 9:57, 9:58 on the card. The Diamondbacks are going to be playing us to the LA Dodgers as Brandon Pfaadt looks at battle for the Diamondbacks. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers. Dodgers pretty good-sized favorites here, anywhere between minus 157 to minus 178, plus 140 to plus 150. That number on Arizona, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, the under is even, and give me Brandon Pfaadt at plus money. The Diamondbacks are 7-0 since he rejoined the rotation. Now, overall for the season, still above a 3.50 ERA, getting just a hair above 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he has completely turned the corner since rejoining the rotation in these 7 starts. 1.55 ERA, 1 home run allowed in 40 2/3 innings. Meanwhile, Yoshinobu Yamamoto down a little bit with his swing and miss stuff to about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, but keeping things on in front of him. 1 home run, 2 walks allowed per 9 innings, and throughout his career has always been significantly better when he's been away from him. 3.34 ERA with 1.1 home runs per 9 innings at home. Lifetime 2.13 ERA, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and with this Dodgers team, they are number 1 in the big leagues in terms of road run creation, over 5.6 runs per game. Shohei Ohtani, though he might not be pitching right now, he still has been able to supply the boom for this team. 26 home runs, over a 400 on base. Freddie Freeman is hitting above a 300. He's been able to give you 15 plus bombs. Andy Paz has been able to give you 18 home runs. Max Muncy, 20 home runs. So all these guys have been able to do a nice job there. Still need more out of Kyle Tucker, but you look at Mookie Betts after he had a just miserable start to the season. He's been able to round in a much better form as well. Still not the Mookie that we all know and love, but it's been a bit better there. And for the Dodgers, they're in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They're now getting back Edwin Diaz, who's obviously been rough this season, but that should be able to iron out. And then you've got the nice mix and match bullpen pieces. They did have Brock and Roll Stewart go on the injury list, but Tanner Scott is sub 250 ERA. Jack Dreyer, Alex Vesey, and that neighbor at about a 3. Edgardo Enriquez has been pretty solid for this team as well. They're starting to see some regression with some of these guys like Kyle Hurt and company, but I do think that they're going to be just fine there. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, guys not named Paul Sewald have been relatively solid. Paul Sewald continues to have just a rough season to say the least, but that said, these guys like Juan Murillo, Jonathan Loaizaga, Braden Garcia, they've been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Kevin Ginkel is starting to regress a little bit, but overall, do like what I'm seeing there. And for the Diamondbacks, this has been a team that's been dipping a little bit more with their, shall we say, home run power. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 19 home runs. He's been able to about a 250. Corbin Carroll down to about a 340 on base. He and Nolan Arenado both hitting for 16 home runs piece, both hitting between about a 242, 250, but Geraldo Perdomo about a 355 on base. Gabriel Moreno has been able to about a 300. You've had Ryan Waldschmidt do a nice job moving line in a small sample size. Need more of the likes of Ore Perosa, Tim Tewa, these outfielders at the bottom of the full, but that said, plus 150 or better in on the Diamondbacks on the money line, and like the under semi-total at a flat 8. 9:59, 9:60 on the card. It is the Athletics. They're going to be on the road against the Red Sox as Jake Bennett goes for the Sox. Gauge jump hopes to not get jumped here for the Athletics, and the Athletics, they are once again a sizable underdog. Between plus 180 to a plus 196 and minus 215 to minus 235 is that number on Boston. 9 to 9.5 is the total on the 9.5. Under is minus 125 and the over is plus 105 on the 9. Over is minus 120 and the under is even. If you're looking to lay around half right now with Boston, that's in the neighborhood about even money to minus 110, and I'm willing to go up to a minus 112 on that run line. For the Athletics, there's just really no backing them right now. They've been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation away from home, and all these pitchers have been brutal for them to say the least. I will say this though, much of their pitching, and Gage Jump is one of those guys, have been much better when they've been away from home rather than at home. Overall for Jump, well, it's been a rough run for him. He has given up now at least 4 runs in 5 out of his last 7 starts and has a 4.59 ERA, but a better 3.80 fielding independent, 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 0.9 bombs per 9, but no walks, about 4.2 walks per 9 innings. That's a little bit of an issue, but you look at what he's been able to do when he's been on the road. 2.51 ERA on the road, 3 home runs given up in 28 2/3 innings, 4 bombs in about 38 innings at home, so the home and road splits with regards to home runs, not necessarily huge, but 6.16 ERA when he has been at home. Meanwhile, for Jake Bennett, he has been nothing short of superb here for the Red Sox. He has given up 300 runs of fear in pretty much all but one of his appearances thus far this season. 6.3 strikeouts, 1.6 walks per 9 innings, so he's pitching to a lot of contact, but Again, with the Athletics, with all the injuries that they're dealing with, Nick Kurtz currently being out of the fold. They're dealing with Shea Langoliers being out. You don't have a lot of power. You had only 2 guys in the starting lineup yesterday with 7+ home runs. Tyler Soderstrom, who's been giving you darn near 4 on base since June 1st. He has been very solid. Jonah Heim, he's been able to give you 11 home runs, but he doesn't really hit for average. Henry Bolte is able to move the line a little bit. He hits about a 260, but doesn't draw a lot of walks. Same goes for Jacob Wilson, who's hitting about a 270. Now they're looking to some of these mix and match guys like Lawrence Butler, Jonathan Ornelas. Hard to have a lot of faith in those guys. And for the Red Sox, they've actually been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation at home this season, but they've been a completely different team ever since the All-Star break. Now they're dealing with a little bit of an injury to Wilson Contreras, who's been missing last few days, but you still have quite a few guys that are giving you some pop. Jaron Duran, Ceddanne Rafael, Wilder Abreu, all these 15 home runs. Duran has just not really reached base, but like of Anthony Siegler, Rafael Abreu, Masataka Yoshida, I'll give you at least a 320 on base. And I will say, for Caleb Durbin, he has been so much better recently. Since the beginning of the month of June, he's been hitting well above a 250 for this team, so that helps you out quite a bit. And for the Red Sox, numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA, you've got a bunch of guys like a Teron Guerrero, Giovanni Morin, Garrett Whitlock. I know that they had a little bit of a rough go of it in that extra inning game against the White Sox, but you've got a lot of guys give you a sub 325 ERA. Aroldis Chapman continues to be one of the best closers in all of baseball, so I do think that the Red Sox will go out there and dominate, especially with the Athletics having a north of 635 bullpen ERA since June 1st. Like, good grief. Luis Medina has a sub-4 ERA. That's about the bright spot for the team, as likes of Elvis Alvarado, Jose Suarez, Seth Johnson. They're also playing well above a 4 ERA. Hogan Harris has been okay as well, but man, it's not great there. Give me the run line of the Red Sox. We want to go up to a -112 there. I do like the under. Somebody told it at 8.6. 961, 962 on the card. It is the Guardians, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox as Anthony Kay says okay to another start, and it is going to be Gavin Williams getting the start for the Guardians. And the Guardians do find themselves as a pretty decent-sized road favorite, finding them in that neighborhood about a -120 to a -130, +108 to a +110. That number on the White Sox, 8 is the total, over and under anywhere between -105 to a -115, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the White Sox if I can get a +115-ish, set this at a +113. When we get more of the timelines out, I should be able to find that with the Chicago White Sox. For Anthony Kay, he's really done a nice job in terms of turning a corner. The overall season numbers are not necessarily great with them. 401 ERA, 480 fielding independent, 7.4 strikeouts, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. So you did need a little bit more there, but has been able to keep the ball in the yard, giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. But you just take a look at what he's been able to do recently. He has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 8 starts in the time span of his last 8 starts. A 295 ERA, so posting up about a 390 fielding independent, but 3 home runs allowed in 39 and 2/3 innings. Meanwhile, for Gavin Williams, he just has not been the same pitcher when he has been away from home. Still gets really good swing and miss stuff, 3.56 ERA, and his strikeouts per 9 rate, that's hovering in the neighborhood about 11.5, but does give up the 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. Has worked on the walks as well, about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but again, with Williams, 285 home ERA, 4.34 ERA away from home. Away from home, he is giving up about 1.6 or 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. And for the Guardians, this continues to be a bottom 3 lineup in terms of run creation. Now it's a little bit better now that Jose Ramirez is off the injury list. They pick up a few pieces like a Nathaniel Lowe and a Joe Adell at the trade deadline. But Adell has been able to give you 16 home runs, and he was the lone guy entering into the day on Friday with north of 12 this season. Chase Lauder's moving the line. He and Steven Kwan above a 345 on base. Brian Rocchio starting to regress a little bit, but 15 stolen bags. He's hitting at 255. Austin Hedges is finding way on, but need more on base out of Anel Martinez. You've got Genoa at the second base spot, who had a really nice first series, but that said, it's a very small sample size there. And for the Chicago White Sox, they continue to be a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Chase Meadroth about a 350 or so on base. You've got 3 different guys with at least 24 home runs: Miguel Vargas, Montaka Murakami, Colson Montgomery. Now Montgomery a sub 300 on base, but Murakami over a 370 on base. Miguel Vargas has been able to move line. Randall Grichuk is a veteran bat that I really like for the team as well. Luan Acuna has been able to swipe some bags. He's been much better recently. And for the White Sox, ever since June 1st, they have been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And that rough game against the Red Sox a few days ago, but like so, Oscar Brisbane, Brian Hudson, Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, a lot of guys, they're providing sub 325 ERA. They got rid of Sir Anthony Dominguez, which that is addition by subtraction, and I do think that they're going to be able to get to Williams and a Cleveland Guardians bullpen that is still solid, but we've been seeing a little bit of shakiness out of them as well. Eric Zabrowski over a 350 ERA. Craig Craig Yo is someone I like. Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith, all these sub 350 ERA, but Matt Festa, hard to have a lot of faith in him. So at a plus 114 or better, looking at the White Sox on the money line, I do like the under. Somebody told 7.8, 963, 964 on the card. The Orioles are going to be on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers as Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers, and you've got one Mr. Kyle Bradish going for Baltimore. Total on this game, it is 7.5, and the juice is all over the place. The over is anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 120. Under is between even a minus 115. Rangers are minus 135 to minus 146 favorites, and between plus 118 to a plus 125. That number on Baltimore, and for Baltimore, I set them at a plus 146, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Rangers. Jacob deGrom apparently utilized his no trade clause, so I thought that was interesting, and for deGrom, he does need to reduce on the amount of hard contact that he's giving up. He's got a 3.96 ERA because he has been taking yard quite a bit this year. 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, still getting the 10.7 strikeouts per 9, 2.3 walks per 9, and the 331 fielding independent certainly does point towards quite a bit of positivity with him. And for deGrom, 304 home ERA compared to a 4.87 ERA away from home at home. He's giving up less than 0.85 home runs per 9 innings. And for Kyle Bradish, just hard to have a lot of faith in him because the command has been all over the place with him. A 3.79 ERA with about 4 walks per 9 innings. He's a power pitcher that each of last year's was posting up 12 plus strikeouts per 9 innings, down to about 8.7 punch-outs per 9 here. And for the Orioles, to their credit, they've been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. They did trade away a few pieces at the deadline, so no longer do you have Tyler Wells, but you have Uncle Rico Garcia, Yennier Cano give you a sub 325 ERA after a very rough start to the season. You've had Andrew Kittredge be all around into form for the team as well. Albert Suarez is a presentable long guy as well, but do have to have some question marks with more of the mix and match guys. They're going to be seeing like a Jordan Walker and company. And then on the flip side, for the Rangers, you've been able to have a bullpen that overall got off to a nice start to the season, has regressed a little bit, but I think that adding Chase Silseth at the deadline, that's going to be able to help out. You've got Tyler Alexander, Jacob Lyeth giving you a sub 350 ERA, being great right at a 350 as well. And then when it comes to this lineup, you've been able to have some life breathed into it by Wyatt Langford coming back. They are getting back Corey Seager as well. It's just been a miserable season for him. We'll see if he's able to do anything. And then the likes of Justin Foscue, who don't call his name Alejandro Ozuna, hitting about a 255. You've been able to get good production out of Jock Peterson, 20 bombs, about a 340 on base. Josh Young, him being out of the fold and being in and out in general, has been hurting the team a little bit, but Brandon Nimmo has been able to pick up the slack, getting at 275. And then Jake Berger doesn't really give you on base, but he's up to 19 home runs as well. Do think that for the Rangers, with the amount of walks that you're going to get from the Orioles, they do just enough to be able to get you over semi-total at 7.7. And keep in mind, for Baltimore, you still have some relatively good power for this team. Obviously, they trade away Adley Rutschman, but he's a guy that's on the injured list to start with. You've had Gunnar Henderson not give you any sort of on-base whatsoever, but hey, he's been able to get 18-plus home runs. You've had great production out of Pete Alonso recently after that slow start to the season. 23 home runs, posting up about a 343 on base. Do need more out of some of these guys like Leody Taveras, Tyler O'Neill, Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, a whole bunch of guys hitting at 225 or lower. They're kicking the tires on Carlos Narvaez, but Jackson Holiday up above a 335 on base. Do like the overhand for the Rangers, willing to lay up to minus 145 on the money line. 965, 966 on the card. It is the Mariners. Playing goes through the Rays. Griffin Jacks getting Jacks up for this start, and George Kirby goes for the Mariners. Mariners are a favorite here between minus 115 to a minus 122. Between even money to plus 105 is that number on the Tampa Bay Rays. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 120. Over is even money. And for Seattle, I did set them at a minus 134. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them. For Griffin Jacks, he has been significantly better since he was posting up an 80 ERA coming out of the bullpen, but I still do have a few question marks with him. For Jacks, he has still been giving up some hard contact this year. 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's been able to round into form with the walks. He's only giving up about 2.9 walks per 9 innings, so that's something that is very solid for him. With regards to Jacks as well, he's been getting Jacks up a little bit more away from home. 4.06 road ERA compared to a 3.23 ERA at home. Now again, 3.16 ERA as a starter, 8 ERA coming out of the bullpen, but even as a starter, still giving up over 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. And then for George Kirby, he's been overall posting up about a 3.76 ERA, 3.58 fielding dependent. He's only giving up the 1.8 walks per 9 innings. Has had a little bit of an issue getting strikeouts, a career low 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but for George Kirby, just like so many of these Mariners pitchers, has been better at home rather than away from home. At home, he's giving up less than 1 home run per 9 innings, 3.51 ERA, and it is a Mariners bullpen that continues to find themselves in the top 10 in terms of ERA. Now, Gabe Speier may or may not be dealing with suspension in this game because there was that whole big giant what you would do with him, but still, you've been able to have Edward Bizardo be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Now, I don't have any faith whatsoever in Sir Anthony Dominguez, but I know Jose Ferrer has been able to give you some solid innings. Andre Munoz, after a slow start to the season, he's been able to pick it up. The big thing for the Mariners, offense. They've been a bottom 4 team in terms of overall run creation. Cal Raleigh has went from being the big dumper to taking a big dump, hitting a $162 with 12 home runs. That's just not going to cut it. But then you got Randy Arozarena, Cole Young, Julio Rodriguez, Luke Raley, who's been dealing with a little bit of injury, Tom Canzone, all between 14 and 18 home runs coming into the series. For Canzone, about a 330 on base. Young, Josh Naylor, Julio Rodriguez, all between about a 320 to a 330 on base. JP Crawford, about a 330 on base, but he's been regressing a little bit as well. And then on the flip side, for the Tampa Bay Rays, you've been able to have Junior Caminero give you over 30 home runs. He has been magnificent this season. Then lost in the shuffle, you've got a pair of guys that give you between 14 to 15 home runs apiece, and Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, both about a 370 to a 375 on base. Ben Williamson has been able to about a 250. Nick Fortes hitting a 275 as well. So a good circumstance, in my opinion, for the Mariners in a low-scoring game. So I might tell it 7.4, like the under, for the M's, a willing lay up to a minus 133 with this money line. 967, 968 on the card. It is the Atlanta Braves on the road against the New York Yankees. You've got Chris Sale hoping to not sell for the Atlanta Braves, and Garrett Cole goes for the Yankees. Yankees do find themselves between plus 110 to plus 115 underdogs, minus 125 to minus 135. That number on Hotlanta, 7.5 is the total. Overs minus 115 to minus 120. Unders between even and minus 105. And for the Yankees, plus 116 or better is going to be putting me in on them. Right now I'm seeing just a plus 115 when it's all said and done. I'm pretty sure we should be able to find a plus 120 or so. So going to be looking at the Yankees there. For Garrett Cole, I know that it's been a little bit of an up and down season for him, but the swing and miss stuff is now back for him. He's been getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings for the season, a 3.42 ERA. What has really been costing him has been the 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. A lot of the struggles have come away from him, and a lot of those struggles came about a month or two ago as well. At home, he's been posting up a strikeout to walk ratio above a 5.1 as well, and Chris Sale has just been absolutely magnificent for the Atlanta Braves. Let's call it what it is. Right now, he is supplying a 2.08 ERA. The strikeouts per 9 rate is hovering right around about an 11. He's only giving up 2 walks per 9, and he's backed up by a bullpen that is number 1 in the National League in terms of ERA. The Dylans, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. DDA Fuentes has been really good coming out of the bullpen. Raciel Iglesias continues to be rock solid. They are dealing with the injury to Robert Suarez, but overall has been very good with regards of what we've been seeing there. For the Atlanta Braves, this is a unit that is in the top 8 in terms of run creation in all of baseball. For Matt Olson, 32 bombs, and he's been able to about a 270. Albies. He, Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin, all between 19 to 20 home runs apiece. Albies and Baldwin between about a 261 to a 271 average, and Baldwin has just been a different player since the All-Star break. 360 on base. Michael Harris is hitting about a 290. Doesn't draw walks, but hey, you'll take that. And then for Ronald Acuna Jr., getting him back, that should be big. Overall, 360 on base. Hasn't quite been himself this season, but I think that he's going to round into form. For the Yankees, last 35 games entering in the day yesterday, just 3.4 runs per game, but they continue to find ways to win because they've been second in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. You've got so many guys that have been so reliable for this team all season long, like Fernando Cruz, Brent Edrick, David Benar, all give you a sub 285 ERA. Paul Blackburn has about a 2 ERA. He's been a really good long guy for this team. And get rid of Camilo Duvall and Jake Bird, which man should be able to help out with regards to addition by subtraction. And for the Yankees, just need to get more out of guys not named Ben Rice. And even Ben Rice has been regressing a little bit. 355 on base, 31 home runs. Jazz Chisholm does give you 17 home runs, but less than a 300 on base out of he. Jarek Calabrea, less than a 300 on base. Austin Wells is hitting like a $170. Ryan McMahon is hitting at 212. So that has not been great to say the least, but I did love the pickup of Luis Garcia. Already has a home run in a Yankees uniform, and I do think that for the Yankees, they're going to be able to keep this low scoring in. I think that they present some value here, plus 117 or better. Looking at the money line, and do like the under, semi-total 7.2. 969, 970 on the card. It's the Marlins. They are going to be playing us to the Angels as Wadabetti Arena is on the bump for the Halos, and you got Sandy Alcantara going for the Miami Marlins. Marlins minus 153 to minus 166 favorites, plus 132 to a plus 140. That number on the Halos, 8 is the total. Overs minus 115 to minus 120. Unders between even and minus 105. Set the Marlins money line here at a minus 156. Don't necessarily want the run line because I think that this is going to be a low scoring game. I'm going to be in on the under for Sandy Alcantara. He's not necessarily blowing you away, less than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's doing a good job in terms of being a presentable pitcher and just not hurting himself. Right now, giving up 1 home run, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, and Wadabetti Arena does need to work on those 4.7 walks per 9 innings, but 254 ERA with 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for an Angels team that, there have not been a lot of bright spots thus far this season. He has been one of the bright spots for this team, for the Angels. 48 runs in their first 17 games since the All-Star break. Just not cutting it. So Mike Trout, Zach Neto, a pair of guys give you 18 plus home runs, and Trout does give you over a 370 on base, but he's also got a batting average that's hovering right around about a 240, so you need a little bit more there. You've had Wade Meckler actually do a nice job getting on base, hitting above a 300, but these guys like Moises Ballesteros, Josh Lowe, Travis Heineman, these guys at the bottom hitting a 235 or lower with not a lot of power. That's a massive issue for this team. And for the Miami Marlins, this is a team that's in the bottom 6 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They do trade away with Liam Hicks at the deadline. Kyle Stowers has been able to give you 16 home runs along with Alberto Hernandez. Both of these guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 230. The specialty for this team is swiping back. Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, Jacob Marcia, Sergio Ruiz, all these 18 stolen bases apiece. For Ruiz, about a 350 on base. Otto Lopez hitting above a 315. Edwards is able to give you about a 350 on base. Jacob Marcia hits a 200, so that's been a little bit of an issue. And need more on some of these guys like Leo Menes, Owen Casey and company. And for the Miami Marlins, it has been a bullpen that has been going down the toilet bowl a little bit with the Anthony Bender injury, but still Josh Eknes, John King, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Calvin Fauché has been rough, and Pete Fairbanks been not good to say the least. And for the Angels, I think a lot of people would be interested to know they've been in the top 15 in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. These mix and match guys like Luke Murphy, they just get back Ben Joyce, Jose Fermin, Sammy Natera. You do have quite a few guys that are posting up a sub 350 ERA, albeit some of them are small sample sizes, and you do have Sam Bachman now on the injury list. But that said, do you think that's a lower scoring game like the under? Somebody told 7.9. And for the Marlins, I'm willing to lay up to minus 155 on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. It is the Blue Jays on the road against the Phillies. Aaron Nola hopes to be super for the Phils, and Max Scherzer goes for the Toronto Blue Jays. 9.5 to 10 is the total. On the 10, unders minus 115, the overs minus 105. On the 9.5, over and under both at minus 110. Minus 152 to minus 162 for the Phillies, and plus 128 to a plus 143 is that number on Toronto. And I'm in on the Phillies, set my total at minus 161. And if you're looking to lay a run half, I was willing to go a plus 122 or better on this one. I'm seeing that at a plus 130. I'm going to bypass the money line. I'm going to be going with the run line. For Max Scherzer, actually had by far his best start of the season last time out against the St. Louis Cardinals. Gives up 1 run in 6 innings, and the team just did absolutely nothing for him. And that's actually a big reason why I like the under. I know that both of these starting pitchers are brutal. Aaron Nola, 5.55 ERA, 2.1 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings. Scherzer, 7.92 ERA, 2.6 home runs, 4.4 walks per 9. But the Blue Jays dead stinking last in all baseball, averaging 3.89 runs per game coming into the series. Now, for the Phillies, they're averaging about 4.8 runs per game at home. That's solid, but also it is a Blue Jays team that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I know that Louis Varland had a rough go of it out there in Chicago, but he and Tyler Rogers have both been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. These mix and match guys are getting better and better because they released some of the guys like a Tommy Nance and company, which they were some of the dead weight for the team, but you've been able to get some relatively good production. Some like a Spencer Miles, who's been a really good long guy for the team. You just have no offense for this team. Kazuma Okamoto, 24 home runs this season. You only have one other player with over 10 home runs, George Springer, 12 bombs, and he's only been able at a 235. Now you do have a few guys that move the line like Nathan Lukes, along with Jesus Sanchez, Vlager Jr. hitting between about a 259 to a 268, but for Vlad, he's got 6 home runs and over 400 at-bats. Ernie Clemente's been able to about a 290, but don't call his name Alexander Kirk. He's not been able to provide a lot of power. Is starting to get on base for the team, though. And then on the flip side for the Philadelphia Phillies, absolutely love the fact that they pick up Luis Arraez, guy that hits well above a 300, because that was really the issue for this team. These guys like Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott and company not doing a lot. Now Stott and Trey Turner hitting more in that neighborhood about a 250, and Turner down for what? Up to 16 home runs. He and Brandon Marsh both have 16 home runs apiece. Do have to like what you've been seeing recently out. Justin Crawford is now hitting about a 265. The catcher spot with JT Realmuto has been rough, and then the mix and match outfield spot with like Gabriel Racona, Adolis Garcia and company, man. Gonna need a little bit more there, though Derek Hill has been relatively solid. Phillies still leaving something to be desired with regards to bullpen. Wasn't necessarily bullish on Caleb Killian coming over there. Orion Kirkring has begun to regress a little bit as well. His ERA is now hovering right around about a 340, but Jonathan Bullen has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Yohan Duran has had a few ups and downs, but overall has been very solid for this team, and I do think that for the Phillies, they should be able to get the job done against an aging Max Scherzer, willing to lay up to minus 160 with the Phillies on the money line, and like the under, somebody told 9.2, 973, 974 on the card. It is the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Royals as Seth Lugo goes for the Royals. Clay Holmes for the Cubs. The Cubs do find themselves as a very sizable favorite here, as getting them between minus 157 to minus 171, plus 140 to plus 147. That number on the Royals, 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I do like this total to the under. I did set my total at a 9.2. Now for Clay Holmes, you have to have massive question marks as to how deep he's going to be able to go in this start because he was making a lot of minor league rehab starts with the Mets. Last time he was on a big league mound, you have to go back to May 15th. So that's very concerning. And overall for the season was giving up only a half home run per 9 innings, but does pitch quite a bit of contact. Less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings this season. And ever since he went from the bullpen to being a starter 2 years ago, that has been the case for him. You look at what he was able to do in his minor league rehab starts. He only had a few of them. He was a little bit up and down in those 3 minor league rehab starts, 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, so clearly he's not deceiving a lot of guys. And for Seth Lugo, he's another guy that's pitching to quite a bit of contact as well. 4.41 ERA, 4.26 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings, but only getting about 6.9 strikeouts per 9. Keep in mind that the fences got moved in at Kauffman Stadium here in the offseason, but he's been significantly better at home rather than away from home. At home for Seth Lugo, he's actually giving up less than 0.75 home runs per 9 innings, 3.63 ERA, 5.31 ERA when he has been away from home. And when it comes to this Cubs lineup, it has been one that has been able to just give you a lot of wallop this far this season. Peaker Armstrong, 20-plus home runs, a 380 on base. I don't agree with him being the favorite for the NL MVP, but he certainly should be number 2. Team's averaging overall 5.1 runs per game. Ian Happ not hitting for a lot of average, right around about at 220, but he's been able to give you 18-plus home runs. Say Suzuki, 17-plus bombs. He's giving you over 350 on base. Even though he doesn't really give you a lot of average, you've got a guy like a Michael Busch, who his on-base percentage has been above a 360 as well, and Dansby Swanson has rounded into form as well. What has really been hurting this team is a whole bunch of injuries in the bullpen. Porter Hodge being out for the year, Riley, Martin, guys like this being out, Daniel Palencia, that's been an issue, but Jacob Webb, Gavin Hollowell, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Trent Thornton has been relatively solid for the team. They are dealing with the injury to Toby Milner, but they were able to get a few reinforcements at the trade deadline. Ryan Zefrian should be able to help out a little bit there, but still do have a few question marks there, just like with the Kansas City Royals, you have to question this entire bullpen. Now they're going to need to throw Daniel Lynch most likely as a starter, so you've got John Schreiber who's been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but Alex Lang, Lucas Ursich, Steven Cruz, these are all guys posting up well above a 4 ERA. Nate Pearson should be a nice addition for this bullpen and for the Royals. They've been averaging right around about 4.6, 4.7 runs per game at home. Do have a guy in Bobby Witt Jr. is able to give you over 30 stolen bases, 355 on base, and then Jack Caglione, Salvador Perez, and Carter Jensen, all between 15 to 18 home runs apiece. Jensen only about a 300 on base, and for Perez, he's been hitting the bombs ever since the All-Star break, but man, he's still got a sub-270 on base percent. Jack Caglione, more around about a 255 average. You've been able to get something out of Michael Massey, who's been able to about a 265. Whenever Miguel Garcia has been out there, he's been solid, but he's right now dealing with a little bit of injury as well. Tyler Tolbert, though, hitting above a 300. To think that the Royals present a little bit of value here, plus 134 or better. Looking at them on the money line, and I like the under. Somebody total 9.2, 975, 976 on the card. It's the Twins going to be on the road against the Brewers as Robert Gasser is on the bump for the Brewers, and we've got Taj Junkel and Milton Bradley going for Minnesota. Minnesota plus 122 to plus 135 underdogs, minus 144 to minus 156. That number on the crew, 8 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 105, minus 115 to minus 110 is that under. And for the Brewers, I did set them here at a minus 145, so I'm going to be willing to side with them on the money line. For Taj Bradley, he has been absolutely sensational recently for this team. He had some, shall we say, trials and tribulations in the month of June, but over the last month and a half or so, he's really been able to round into form overall for the season. 10 punch-outs per 9 innings. He does give up the walks. He's been giving up about 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but it just feels like ever since really the beginning/middle of June, he's been able to become a completely different pitcher. As a matter of fact, you take a look at what he's been able to do over his last 8 starts. He has given up more than 3 earned runs in just one of these starts, and as a matter of fact, in 7 out of his last 9 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in this time span. He did have 1 blow-up start, but still, he's been giving up only about 1 home run per 9 innings in this time span, and when it comes to Robert Gasser, he's been a completely different pitcher when he's been at home rather than away from home. 4.48 ERA, solid swing and miss stuff, about 8.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.3 walks per 9. The fielding dependent is right in line with that ERA, though, because he has been giving up about 1.6 or so home runs per 9 innings, but much of those, shall we say, issues have come away from home. 5.87 ERA away from home, 7 home runs allowed in 30 and 2/3 innings, 4 home runs allowed in 31 and 2/3 innings at home, 3.13 ERA. And now, for the Minnesota Twins, they've had just a rough time scoring whenever Byron Buxton has not been out there. That's been really the tone for this team over the last few seasons. They do still have a guy in Cody Clemens who's able to give you 19 home runs, but doesn't really move the line, less than a 325 on base. These guys like Ryan Kreidler, Victor Carantini at the bottom of the fold, not giving you a ton. Royce Lewiston's getting recalled from the minor leagues has been a little bit better, but still hitting like a 235, not a ton of on base. Ryan Jeffers and Trevor Larnach are over a 360 on base, and Luke Kashal has been able to give you about a 265 average. That's been solid, but where the Brewers are a top 6 team in terms of run creation, despite being a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, they just small ball you to death. William Contreras, Jake Bowers, Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terang. You've got so many guys in between about a 265 to 280. Chourio is up to 15 home runs and less than 350 at-bats. Jake Bowers leading the way with 20 bombs. Christian Yelich has not given the team anything whatsoever, but Cooper Pratt over a 350 on base, and for the Brewers, they've got by far the better bullpen in this ordeal as well. Top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They pick up Antonio Senzatella at the trade deadline after Uribe, Trevor McGill. They're giving you a sub 355 ERA. They're still dealing with a few injuries. They pick up Jojo Romero, but he's going to be out for quite some time. That's at DL Tornado. Paul's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of some of these long guys as well. Aaron Ashby has been regressing a little bit, but overall, I do think that they're going to be fine there. And for the Minnesota Twins, they did pick up AJ Minter at the trade deadline. That helps you out, but Travis Adams is still posting up an ERA well above a 450. Yandres Gomez, along with Andrew Morris, these guys have been able to give you a sub 4 ERA, but still have to have a lot of question marks with regards to some of these other guys. And now with Dean Kramer going out there once every 5 days, they're going to be burning up this bullpen a little bit as well. So I told 7.8, like the under, and for the Brewers, willing to lay up to minus 144 on the money line. 977, 978 on the card. It is the Tigers. They are going to be on the road against the Giants, as Landon Roop is going to be on the bump for the Giants, and Jackson Jobe for the Detroit Tigers. Tigers are minus 105 to a minus 112. Meanwhile, even money to minus 110. Then over on San Francisco, 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 7.5 over is minus 125. The under is plus 105, and on the 8 over and under both at minus 110. And I do like the total to the under. I set my total at 7.6. I just really wonder what we're going to get out of Jackson Jobe here. He made 10 starts during the 2025 season, and the ERA was solid, but he was giving up 1.3 home runs, 5 walks per 9 innings. He had a 4.22 ERA and a 5.18 fielding independent. Now he's making his first start at the MLB level this season after at the minor league level. He looked good. He was giving you a sub 2 ERA. The swing and miss stuff was pretty nice as well, as he was getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he wasn't really going very deep. 15 and a third innings in those 5 starts. So that's something that you do have to very much question. And for the Tigers, to their credit, they've been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. You've got a guy in Drew Anderson who's been able to supply some good innings time in if you need him as a bulk guy, and to piggyback off of Jackson Jobe, I actually think that that's a really good option. He's been getting a bunch of strikeouts. He's been posting up a sub 3 ERA. Don't necessarily have a lot of faith in Kenley Jansen in big spots, but Tigers might not be in big spots moving forward. And Jacob Giesbach has been able to give you a sub 325 ERA along with Tyler Holden for the Tigers. They've been able to up their offense as well. They're now middle of the road with regards to run creation, with Dylan Dingler carrying the mail, 26 home runs, hitting at 275, and then Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, Gleyber Torres. These are guys I'll give you at least a 365 on base. Green is up to 16 home runs this season. Deal with the injury to Kerry Carpenter, but he was having a rough season anywhere. For Spencer Torkelson, need more than the 307 on base, but he is up to 20 home runs. Still have a few question marks at the bottom of the fold, as you've got these mix and match guys like a Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, hitting below a 225 whenever you've trotted out there some of these backup catchers. Other than Eduardo Valencia, who is like 34 at bats, has been great. But that said, it's been a little bit of an issue there. Meanwhile, on the flip side for the San Francisco Giants, they do continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, but it's been better over the last few months. Recognize that Casey Schmidt has been in and out of the lineup over the last few weeks, but Rafael Devers, 23 home runs. He's now giving you a respectable 325 on base. William Adames is up to 18 home runs, but man, about a 280 on base. That's not necessarily great to say the least. They get rid of Eloy Ramos at the trade deadline. Matt Chapman still on the injury list, but Bryce Eldridge still give you about a 350 or so on base. Daniel Susic at the catcher spot is able at about a 260. For the Giants, they are in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and now they did have to throw J.T. Brubaker in a start yesterday, but that said, they do get back Keaton Winn. He's been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Ryan Walker has been a complete disaster for this bullpen, and Matt Gage has been dealing with injury, but Sam Hentges, he's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Dylan Smith has been pretty solid as well. So do think that there's value with Jobe. Perhaps not being acclimated to the big league level. Set the Giants at a minus 125, with Landon Root being a guy that very much keeps the ball in the yard, giving up 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. 434 ERA, closer to a 348 fielding dependent. Needs to work on the darn near 4 walks per 9 innings, but give me the Giants here on the money line. Set them at minus 126. And like the under, semi sold 7.6. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Astros are going to be on the road against the Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Padres, and you've got one Mr. Peter Lambert going for Houston. Houston is between minus 102 to a plus 110, minus 116 to minus 126 at number on Slam Diego. 8 to 8.5 as the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 125. The over is plus 105. On the 8, under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And I'm pretty much seeing 8 across the board right now. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. So I told it at 8.1. For Peter Lambert, he is a guy that has been able to do a nice job keeping the ball in the yard, giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. But I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression with him. He's got solid swing and miss stuff, not necessarily amazing swing and miss stuff. 3.06 ERA, 3.78 field independent, 8.9 strikeouts, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And Michael King has been lucky himself. For King, he's right now posting up a 3.45 ERA, but closer to 4.19 field independent, down to 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1 home run, 3.7 walks per 9 innings. Throughout his career has been better in San Diego rather than away from home, but still, he is going to be backed up by a bullpen that has been incredibly good for the San Diego Padres. Top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I know that they're dealing with the injury right now to Jason Adam, but still have the likes of Yuki Matsui, Adrian Morejon, obviously Mason Miller has been your main headliner, Wandy Peralta, Bradley Rodriguez. All these guys give you a sub 3.35 ERA. For the Padres, they've been a top 8 team in terms of run creation since the All-Star break as well. Manny Machado's up to 23 home runs, only a 210 for the season, but post All-Star break has been much better. Fernando Tatis Jr. has like 4 home runs since the All-Star break, and he's giving you a 350 on base. Ty France hitting well above a 300 since the All-Star break. Overall for the season, 16 bombs, about a 345 on base. Still need more out of these guys like a Jake Cronenworth who's hitting at 220. Xander Bogaerts has been useless as well, but Jackson Merrill is really starting to pick it up. He's up to 16 home runs. Flip side for the Houston Astros, Yordan Alvarez has been the best player in the American League this year. No fans or buts about it. He's right now supplying you with 34 plus home runs, well above a 440 on base. And then we've had Jeremy Pena do a great job in terms of being able to reach base. He's hitting well above a 300. His home run total is up to right around about a 13 or a 14 right now, so that's been solid. You just need more on some of these outfielders like Zach Cole, along with Lamont Wade Jr., Cam Smith, the currently injured Bryce Matthews, Joey Looper Fido. Just have so many guys hitting at 225 or lower. Smith has made 13 home runs, but still not a lot of power out of these guys. Junior Diaz, he does it for a 260, but just a 284 on base. He needs to draw a few more walks. Christian Walker, 22 home runs, but he's been a little bit of a strikeout artist as well. And for the Astros, to their credit, top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. Getting back Josh Hader has really made the difference for this team, and I do like what I'm seeing out of Steven Okert as well. He's been able to give you a sub 225 ERA. They don't have a Limber Santa right now in there. He was actually very good in this bullpen as well, but Bennett Sosa, sub 350 ERA. AJ Blubaugh, presentable long guy, but I do think that both of these pitchers do him for a little bit of regression, like the over, so I told it at 8.1. And for the Padres, willing to lay up to minus 131 on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe over your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GNet_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to on this podcast via a 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, giving you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once you get them out. Thank you.